Hey everyone, it's Chris Huntley with Credit Knox, and in this video, I'm going to tell you the difference between a free credit scoring account that you can get through sites like Credit Sesame. I'm going to show you my exact account. I'm going to log in with you and show you exactly what you'll see in there. You can get a free credit score through an account like Credit Karma. And I'm going to show you the difference between those and a paid account like what I pay for at MyFICO.com and tell you why that's important to do. Not everyone needs to do it, but I'll show you the difference between them and show you who should consider the paid route and who doesn't need to consider that. Okay, so generally speaking, when you get a free credit score through Credit Sesame, which is the one that I use for my free score, let me log in here. This is more of what you would call an educational score. So on the Credit Sesame site, let me pull this up real quick, on their free score page when you go to sign up, they tell you that when you get your credit check, they're going to pull your credit information from Transunion. So the first thing that you need to know is there's these 3 credit bureaus, and when you go to get a car loan or you go to check your mortgage or try to get a home loan, they might pull from a different credit bureau. They might pull from all 3. And the problem is with Credit Sesame, you're only getting information from one. Now, typically, that's going to be okay. Sometimes you're going to get a pretty good idea of where your credit score stands, and it at least gives you a ballpark, right? But the thing is, a lot of lenders and credit card companies, they might not all report their data to all 3 credit bureaus. They might only report to, let's say, Experian and Equifax, the other 2, and not TransUnion. That could mean that your credit score could be dramatically different between the different credit bureaus. So you really need to understand that about TransUnion. The other thing that you need to understand as you come down here is this is what's called a VantageScore. Let me see if I can pull this up for you. Okay, so manage your finances all in one place. Credit Sesame pulls your TransUnion's VantageScore. So TransUnion offers a VantageScore, which is a scoring model. It's a way to, think of it like all of the data that lenders and credit card companies have sent into TransUnion. Think of those as kind of like ingredients in a recipe. So in other words, you can have the same ingredients and you can have different scores, and that's what you have with the VantageScore. This is actually not the most popular or the most used credit scoring model. When you go to get a car loan or to get a mortgage, almost every lender out there is not checking your VantageScore. They're checking what's called your FICO score by Fair Isaac. And I'm going to get into that and show you where you can find that. But again, so let's get here into my Credit Sesame account. And just keeping in mind that it's only from one credit bureau, TransUnion, and it's a lesser known, lesser used scoring model, the VantageScore. Okay, so we can still get some information from here. So I've got currently an 804 credit score here, and I really like, and again, this is right here, if you hover over there, it says this is your TransUnion Vantage 3.0. So this is their 3rd version of the VantageScore. This is as of today that I'm recording this, April 30th, 2020. And what I really like about Credit Sesame is they go through, they don't just tell you your credit score, right? They tell you why your credit score is what it is. So they give you a little analysis here. So with your payment history, if you click on this, your credit usage, this is how long you've had credit, your credit age, that is important. Your account mix, so if you just have only credit cards, then you want to mix it up. You need a car loan in there, you need a home loan, some type of installment loan. And credit inquiries, that's people, that's lenders that have been checking your credit. If you've got a ton of inquiries, that could be a bad sign to creditors that you might be an unstable borrower because you're trying to take out a bunch of money, right? A bunch of loans. So if you go through here, let me look at my credit analysis, and you can see some more details here of what's breaking down my 804 score here. What they do that's even better than this is they'll look at my, let's see here, if you look at my total credit, oh, okay, right here. So right here I'm under the tab My Credit. If you go under My Debt, so now you're going to see all the fun stuff. Here, okay, so if you look at each of these, like this is valuable information that I have a home loan for $460,000. That's valuable information to Credit Sesame because they know they know that I am a good candidate, and they know I've got this. They probably know what percentage I'm paying on it. Let's just click on it and let's see if they do know. So it's, yeah, they know. So it's Flagstar Bank. They know the balance. They know how much I'm paying. They know my interest rate. That can't be right. 7.9? That's not right. Yeah, they don't actually have my correct interest rate. I think they're seeing what I pay per month with taxes and insurance and interest and whatnot. So they're that's funny. They calculated this based on a wrong number. Anyway, this is valuable to them because they can now say, hey, go to Wells Fargo or B of A or Rocket Mortgage or somebody, right? They're going to show me an offer here. I guarantee you they'll be doing that under auto loans because I'm paying out my nose for auto loans. So a couple of years ago, I sold a business and I went out and spent all my money. It was not a smart thing to do. But I bought a couple fancy new cars, a Nissan Armada, so that's my Nissan there, and a GM Financial, that is my Chevy Colorado, or not Colorado, Silverado, one of the two, the big truck. And, you know, they're both these big balances, and I expected to pay both of these cars off. And you know, after I paid my taxes on my business sale and stuff, like, I did not have much left over. So I decided not to pay these off, and now I'm stuck with a 5% and a 7.5% interest, which is really high and not a good deal. I need to refinance these, but I'm in the middle of looking at a refinance for my mortgage right now, so I haven't done this. So anyway, this is actually really smart of Credit Sesame and nice of them to come in here and give me a deal to go look at Cars Direct. I almost guarantee you if I went with some independent lender than what I got in the dealership, then I'm going to be able to beat 7.5% with my credit, right? So this is how, you know, this is some of the fun stuff that a free account with Credit Sesame can do for you. Okay, they can give you an idea, a ballpark of where your credit is. They can show you some opportunities to maybe save a little bit of money, which is nice. They can show you the breakdown of your credit score and where you need work. And that's about it. Now, you know, at the outset of this video, I said, you know, the problem with Credit Sesame is that it's only one credit bureau and then it's a VantageScore instead of a FICO score. So let's look here at MyFICO. And what I want to say before we look at that is I want to show you this. There's this resource that I'm going to link to this in this video that talks about the types of credit scores and the ones that you actually need to know, these FICO scores. This is the score that's used by 90% of lenders. And you actually have a lot of FICO scores. You have scores from the different credit bureaus, Transunion, Equifax, and Experian. But then you actually have different numbered scores. So they've come out with all these different scoring models over the last 20 some odd years. And some lenders still use like old scores that came out like 10 or 15 years ago. And so you actually need to know what those are, which you'd have no idea if you're logged into your Credit Sesame account. You know, if you're going to go to an auto lender or go get a home loan, it's not going to be a very good estimate of what the actual scores are that they're going to pull, and you need to know these FICO scores. So look, here's the most important ones that you need to know. This is our types of credit scores resource. And again, I'll link to this, but this is the most widely used one, is the FICO 8. You've actually got 3 FICO 8 scores, and that's for one of each credit bureau. The ones used in mortgage lending, these are really important if you want to get a home loan, right? So this is the FICO 5. This is an Equifax score. The FICO 2, that's an Experian score. FICO 4, that's a classic old score from TransUnion. And there's only one way to get these. You're not going to get them through Credit Sesame, or you're not going to get them through Credit Karma. Even when you go to a site like, let's say your credit card company gives you a free FICO score, or I use Wells Fargo to bank. They give me a free FICO score, but it's the FICO 8, or maybe it's the 9, I forget. It's not these. So, and they're different. They're different. My 8 is different from my 2, 4, and my 5 for my home scores. Okay, so, and they can be very different. They can be different by, they can be off by like 50 points or more, right? And they can be off by even more than that from your Vantage score that Credit Sesame or Credit Karma give you. So you really need to, there is a way that you can get to these, and I'll show you here in a second. But then here's where it gets fun. You also have different scores for auto lending. So you've got your FICO auto scores. And then you have your bank card scores. Those are used in credit card decisions. Okay, so and then you've got some newer scores that haven't really been adopted yet, the FICO 9, and then coming soon 10 and 10T, and that'll be fun. And we'll see if lenders start using those instead of like 8 and these other ones. Okay, so let's check out MyFICO. So I personally pay $29.95, I think, per month, or it's $29.99, one of those two. And when you come in here, the first thing that you're going to see is 3 scores that are all pretty close to, actually, they're very close to that TransUnion VantageScore 3 that I got from Credit Sesame. So not too bad, right? So you've got, this one shows, this is my Equifax. It's a FICO 8. Ooh, and it just, I guess I just clicked on it. Let me go back. Okay, so again, that was my FICO 8 Equifax. Here's my FICO 8 TransUnion. You can see here in the fine print. And here's my FICO 8 Experian. But this is only 3 of, you actually have 28 FICO scores. So because of what we were just talking about. So let's go up to the scores, and we'll go and let me show you a couple of these different credit bureaus and why it's important to have this information. So let's take a look at TransUnion, which is what we were looking at with the Credit Sesame. So right now it's at $7.99. It's almost identical to the score that that we looked at with Credit Sesame, but this is only one score. It's only my FICO 8. Now, if I want, again, a mortgage, a car loan, they might not pull this 8. In fact, they probably won't. So instead, if you scroll down here, here's where all the good information is. Here's my FICO 8. Oh, commonly used in mortgage lending, the FICO Score 4. This is a 734. So this is about, 70-point difference from my Credit Sesame score. It's about, what is it, between this one, it's, it's about 65 points. So it's 65 points difference. That's a huge difference. So if you go into a home loan thinking that you have an 800 or close to it, 805, whatever I think is what my Credit Sesame was, and you have your mortgage guy or mortgage gal run you some rates, and you think you've got an 800, and it turns out you have a 734, well, you probably still get good rates, but probably not as good as if you have an 800. And that could be at the cutoff. That could be the cutoff between like a 3.5% and a 4% loan, or you could pay thousands, tens of thousands in interest more over a 30-year loan. I mean, it's a big deal. And so you need to know your correct score here going into a home loan. So this one is kind of fascinating. It turns out that you can do things to change some of these older scores. So For example, one of the strategies I talk about in my other videos on Credit Knox, one of them is the authorized user strategy. Well, guess what? That strategy works really well for FICO Score 4. It doesn't work necessarily for FICO Score 8. Some of these newer scores have caught on to this strategy because people have abused it. And if we look through here, we've also got auto lending. So look at this one. If I went to get an auto score, and again, we right now are under TransUnion, right? So see all these scores? There's how many? You know, like 10 or something. I'm going to have the same amount, or approximately the same amount, when I go to Equifax and Experian. So if I go to Experian, let's see how I look at Experian. Not too bad. I've got one really low one in here to be concerned about, and this is for credit cards. So let's say, so this is my FICO Score 3. So let's say that I go to get a credit card and they pull that I've got a 737. I'll probably still get approved for most cards, but not as well as if I had an 800, like some of my other scores are here, right? So this is why this is really important to know. I've seen the difference between a FICO score and a VantageScore be as much as 50 to 100 points. As you can see, even your FICO scores, like I'm showing you, mine vary more than 50 points. And yeah, the last thing I would just leave you with is that you should consider, if you're going to be getting a loan anytime soon. We talked about who needs to consider this paid account, the MyFICO compared to Credit Sesame. Well, if you're just getting into credit, you just need an idea of where you stand, and it's just more for educational purposes, then probably a free account's okay for you. But where you can't use it is you can't rely on it to actually tell you, what your FICO scores are, which are, again, the scores that the lenders actually use. So there you have it. That's really going to be the difference between your free credit score providers like Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, and the paid ones like MyFICO.